Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Mustafa Ahmed Doha. Today we will discuss a very important topics which is thalassemia. So in the previous classes we have discussed about hemolytic anemia and its classification. As you all know that thalassemia is a type of hereditary hemolytic anemia. So when we discussed hemolytic anemia, we differentiated, we classified it in hemolytic anemia. It was hereditary or it may be acquired, right? Hemolytic anemia may be hereditary or acquired. So in the hereditary, we classified it that it may be due to RBC membrane defect, right? Or it may be due to RBC enzyme defect, or it may be due to hemoglobin defect, right? We have discussed that among the RBC membrane defect there is hereditary elliptocytosis or hereditary spherocytosis, and among RBC enzyme defects we can give example of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency or pyruvate kinase deficiency, right? And then hemoglobin defect. Among the hemoglobin defect we have discussed that it mainly of three types. Number one is hemoglobinopathies. So what is it? It's the qualitative deficiency of hemoglobin, right? There is abnormal hemoglobin production like hemoglobin S or hemoglobin C, and there is another type of hemoglobin defect, that is thalassemia. So what is thalassemia? There is decrease or absent synthesis of globin chain. So which globin chains are involved? Alpha or beta globin chain synthesis. And the third type is the combinations of the aboves, that is double heterozygous disorder, double heterozygous disorders like hemoglobin E beta thalassemia. So there is hemoglobinopathies in this portion and there is thalassemia in this portion. So it is the combination of above these two types, right? So today we discuss about thalassemia. Thalassemia is a group of hereditary group of disorder in which there is decrease or absent globin chain synthesis due to some genetic lesions. So the striking feature here is decrease or absent globin chain synthesis, thalassemia. So what happens here? Decrease or absent globin chain synthesis. So before I further proceed, I will discuss about the normal hemoglobin pattern in human adult. So what is the normal adult hemoglobin? Normal adult hemoglobin. So most of you know that the normal adult hemoglobin comprises hemoglobin A and hemoglobin A2 and hemoglobin F or fetal hemoglobin. So this is the most abundant hemoglobin in the normal hemoglobin. Here the hemoglobin structure is most stable, and you know the composition of hemoglobin A, there is 2 alpha chain and 2 beta chain, and it comprises almost 95 to 97% of total adult hemoglobin, right? And hemoglobin A2, it comprises, it is made of 2 alpha globin chain and 2 delta globin chain. and it comprises only 1.5 to 3.2% of total hemoglobin. And hemoglobin F, which is called fetal hemoglobin, it comprises alpha 2, 2 alpha chain and 2 gamma chain, and in adult it is less than 1%. So you know that hemoglobin F is called fetal hemoglobin, and in fetal life and in term baby, the hemoglobin F is almost 70 to 90% of total hemoglobin. But the scenario changes after birth. Within 1 month, this hemoglobin F decreased up to 25%, and within 6 months, this hemoglobin F decreases up to 90 to 95%, and it is replaced by hemoglobin A. Hemoglobin A replaces hemoglobin F. So this is the normal adult hemoglobin pattern. So what happens in thalassemia, that this normal pattern, this alpha chain or beta chain, these globin chains are decreased or absent. So when alpha globin chain are decreased or absent, we call it alpha thalassemia. When beta globin chain is decreased or absent, we call it beta thalassemia. So when beta globin chain synthesis is decreased, hemoglobin A is also decreased, right? We will come to it later. So what happens in thalassemia? We have discussed in the previous classes the classification of thalassemia, alpha thalassemia, beta thalassemia, and what are the alpha thalassemias, what are the gene deletions, what happens if 4 alpha gene deletion occurs, what happens if 3 alpha gene deletion occurs, right? And we also discussed about beta thalassemia classification, thalassemia major, minor. So I am not going through that. Today we only discuss about beta thalassemia, and if I got time, we will discuss about alpha thalassemia. So what happens in beta thalassemia? In beta thalassemia, there is absent or decreased synthesis of beta globin chain. And why this occurs? This occurs because there is gene deletion or mutation of the beta gene, which is present on chromosome 11. Because of this, there is decreased synthesis or total absence of beta thalassemia. So clinically we have got two forms of thalassemia. Number one is beta thalassemia major. Beta thalassemia major. And what happens here? In beta thalassemia, there is total absence of beta globin chain production. Total absence of beta globin chain production, and it sometimes expressed as beta 0, beta 0, beta 0, right? So in beta thalassemia major, there is total absence of beta globin chain synthesis, and in beta thalassemia minor, the suppression of beta globin chain synthesis is not complete, right? There is some form of beta globin chain is present. So suppression of beta globin chain is not complete. It may be expressed at beta plus, or beta plus, right? So this is thalassemia minor, or we call it beta thalassemia trait, right? So come to the point, when there is beta globin chain absent or there is beta globin chain synthesis is decreased, then what happens? When the beta globin chain is decreased or there is no beta globin chain, there is unbound alpha globin chain. Alpha and beta amra jani, we know that there are 2 alpha globin chain and 2 beta globin chain in normal human adult human hemoglobin A. So if there is no beta globin chain, then with which the alpha globin chain will bind. It will bind with itself. It will precipitate. Excess alpha globin chain will precipitate. Where it precipitate? In the RBC precursor cell membrane and cytoplasm. So you imagine a red blood cell like this, and in this, it is the precursor of red blood cell, precursors of RBC. So it happens when the hemoglobin production occurs. At that time, where does it occur? It occurs in the bone marrow. So in the precursors of RBC, there is no beta globin chain during hemoglobin synthesis, only alpha chain is present, and excess alpha chains, what does it do? It precipitate. When the precipitation is more, when there is excess precipitations, the cell cannot function properly, right? And it undergoes intramedullary hemolysis. It undergoes intramedullary hemolysis. So this occurs due to precipitation of the excess alpha globin chain. When this is more and more there are more and more precipitation of alpha globin chain within the cell, it destroys intramedullary. So intramedullary hemolysis occurs, and what we call it? We call it ineffective erythropoiesis. But not all the cells are affected this severe. Some cells are affected less, like these cells. Alpha globin chain precipitation occurs also in this cell, but this is less, and these cells does not go intramedullary hemolysis. These cells permitted to enter into the blood stream. Where it passes through the spleen. But you have to know that these cells are not normal. These are abnormal cells. They have inclusions in their membrane and in their cytoplasms, which these inclusions hampers the membrane function. So these cells are abnormal. You have to know that these cells have inclusions in their cytoplasms and membrane, and they hamper normal membrane activity. And when these cells are permitted into the blood stream, and when they go through the spleen, you know the splenic vasculature, there are very minute vasculature here, and the red cells have to squeeze through it. And when they try to squeeze through it, there are membrane loss, right? And these membrane loss, the RBC that lost its membrane partly here cannot repair itself, because this RBC is devoid of nucleus. So later this RBC is phagocytosed by reticuloendothelial cell, and which we call extravascular hemolysis. So this is the two mechanism how RBC precursor cells and the RBC that is permeated through the blood vessels are destroyed. Intramedullary hemolysis, that means ineffective erythropoiesis, and extravascular hemolysis. So together these two mechanisms results anemia. So patient may present to you with features of anemia, right? What are the features of anemia? You all know that pallor, breathlessness, easy exertion, and failure to thrive in case of child like this. So there is anemia, and what happens when anemia develops? So when anemia develops, so this is clear to you that ineffective erythropoiesis and extravascular hemolysis, these two are contributing factor to this severe anemia in beta thalassemia major. So what happens when anemia develops? If anemia is developed, it stimulates erythropoietin production. How it stimulates erythropoietin production? Anemia causes hypoxia, and hypoxia is a stimulant factor for erythropoietin production. What does erythropoietin do? Erythropoietin stimulates bone marrow, right? It stimulates bone marrow, particularly erythroid series. And the result is excess RBC production. But these RBCs are normal or abnormal? These RBCs are abnormal because he or she does not have beta globin chain. So the RBC produced here are devoid of beta globin chain, and again alpha globin chains are precipitate again, and those cells will undergo intramedullary hemolysis and extravascular hemolysis. So what happens? It's a cycle. So more erythropoietin, more RBC destruction, and it ultimately stimulate more erythropoietin production, right? The result is the marrow expansion of all the long bones of our body, and also there is extramedullary hemopoiesis. What it results? Marrow expansion and extramedullary hemopoiesis. So marrow expansion, where does it occur? It occurs in all the long bones of our body, and also the facial bones are also involved here, right? Our frontal bones are involved here, parietal bones involved here, and maxillary bones are involved here. In here the marrow expands, the bones also expands. As a result, there is bony deformity. Bony deformity. Bony deformity occurs, right? And extramedullary hemopoiesis, where does it happen? It happens in spleen and liver. So spleen and liver are already involved in extramedullary extravascular hemolysis. These are also involved in extravascular hemolysis. And now you see the extramedullary hemopoiesis also occurs in spleen and liver. So they have to work 2 times or 3 times, and when they have to work 2 or 3 times, they have to increase in size. So what we got here is splenomegaly and hepatomegaly. Right? What more else happen here? So the marrow expands and the bone also expands and bony deformity occurs. Here something else happens. When the marrow expands, it pushes the cortex of the bone, and the cortical thinning is occurs, right? Cortical thinning of bone. which results in EG fracture. EG fracture. The result is EG fracture and bone pain. Bone pain. And due to bony deformity, we get other clinical features like frontal bossing. When the frontal bones are expands, it is called frontal bossing. Frontal bossing. Enlargement of maxillary bone. Maxillary bone, right? And enlargement of parietal bone. Together they give thalassemic phasis. So it is another clinical feature of thalassemia. Then what happened? So when there is excessive erythroid hyperplasia, to divide and generate new cells, cells need micronutrients like folic acids, irons, zincs, cobalt, right? And when erythroid hyperplasia occurs, they use all the micronutrients they get from surroundings and from blood. So folic acid deficiency occurs. Folic acid deficiency, folic acid and micronutrient deficiency occurs. And together with anemia, hypoxia, plus hypoxia, what they lead to? Repeated infection. So patient may present to you with repeated infection. And also anemia, hypoxia and micronutrient deficiency. This all together may result in failure to thrive. So patient may present to you failure to thrive. Right? So these are more or less clinical features of thalassemia. Another things happen, you know, in thalassemia there is excess iron absorption from where? From gut. And why does it happen? Erythropoietin directly stimulates iron absorption. So what happens? The body senses that it is deficient of iron, but actually there is no deficiency. Erythropoietin stimulates iron absorption, and you know we have no mechanism to excrete excess iron. Our body has no excess mechanism or normal mechanism to excrete excess iron. So what does it do? It at first saturate the iron binding protein, and when this is saturated, then iron begin to deposit where? Heart. Iron begin to deposit in heart. All the vital organs are affected, but the most affected organ is heart. So there is iron deposition in heart and liver and endocrine glands. All endocrine glands may be affected. So what are the endocrine glands? You know, pancreas, thyroid, parathyroid, pituitary and gonads. So, patient may present with heart failure or arrhythmia, and iron deposition in liver may leads to chronic liver disease, which ultimately lead to CLD, may lead to CLD. And the endocrine glands are affected, you know, when pancreas are involved, patient may present with diabetes mellitus. And like this, when thyroid is involved, patient may present with hypothyroidism. When parathyroid gland is affected, patient may present with feature of hypoparathyroidism. Like this, hypopituitarism and growth hormone deficiency may occur, and patient may present with stunted growth. And when gonads are involved, patient may present with, in case of female, delayed onset of puberty, and also in case of male, delayed onset of puberty. And what happens when gonads are involved? There may be a delayed onset of menstruation, and the secondary sexual characteristics may be absent, right? So, I think today's class we discussed about beta thalassemia and its pathophysiology, and through pathophysiology we have discussed about the clinical features of beta thalassemia. So, these are more or less of the clinical features that is present in beta thalassemia major. You have to know that beta thalassemia minor may present with no clinical feature at all. So, in the next class we will discuss about the blood picture of thalassemia and also the management of thalassemia and how we can prevent thalassemia. So, until next class, thank you all for today's session, and I welcome you all again in our next class. Thank you.